This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is the headline Shaun Martens, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the headline, Shaun Martens.
Hey, James, it's your pleasure to have me here.
It definitely is. And where is the headline tomorrow, today, going to be in the future?
All right, yeah, we'll get right into the plugs. I will be wrestling on Canadian Wrestling's Elite Cross Country Tour from November 17th to the 25th, starting right in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and ending in Estevan, Saskatchewan. Check out Canadian Wrestling's Elite on Facebook for dates and times. You can find me on social media at Instagram at Headline Shaun Martens, on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it these days, at Shaun Martens, and there's a Facebook page as well, / Headline Shaun Martens. And if you check my Instagram bio, you will find my Pro Wrestling Tees link as well.
Perfect. And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media and merchandise will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox.
So follow me, Marks.
Exactly. Alright, let's get into it. You mentioned it. You work for Canadian Wrestling Elite and Real Canadian Wrestling. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Oh, my relationship with those kind of companies is as strong as ever. I've been working for Canadian Wrestling's Elite now for probably, making me think, 4 or 5 years, pretty solidly. I'm on and off again with Canadian Wrestling, or Real Canadian Wrestling. I pop up a little bit of everywhere: Pure Power Wrestling, Primetime Wrestling, Can-Am Wrestling, different promotions throughout Ontario and down through the United States as well. I try to keep a very busy schedule.
I was gonna say, because Real Canadian on this is more on the Edmonton side, and then obviously Canadian Elite is in Winnipeg. So I don't have like a map in front of me, but that's quite a drive, no?
Absolutely. I drive anywhere from 150 to 200,000 kilometers a year.
Wow.
I'm one of the last few that travel as much as I do, and that's probably why Cage Match has me listed in the top 5 most active pro wrestlers in North America.
Now, you mentioned coming up, you have a really big tour coming up with Canadian Wrestling Elite. And they do, their tours are pretty, harsh, to say the least. It goes for like 20 plus days. Is that something you prefer, to wrestle every day for like 20 days straight, or would you like...
I'm going to be honest with you, Jimmy James. If the headline had his way, I would wrestle 365 days out of the year. So 30 days is just a little treat.
Okay. Well, you could maybe say that the Canadian Wrestling Elite tours are maybe the Danny Duggan Death tours. you were on the most famous of death tours, and that was the Tony Candello. Can you tell us?
Yeah,
Can you tell us about being on that tour and your relationship with Tony?
Tony Candello. Tony Candello is a very interesting, wonderful little man. Doing that tour was definitely an experience on my life, and it's something I'll never forget. I'm not going to get too deep into the stories. I feel like all of the best stories have been pretty well documented throughout other various media forms. But yeah, Tony Candello, it's an amazing experience.
All right. Well, I believe it was on the last tour. You competed against James Storm. Obviously a big, well-respected name in pro wrestling. So what was that experience like?
Working with the Cowboy is everything that you think it would be. He is one of the most knowledgeable and professional that you could get in there with, but he's also can be one of those most temperamental. So you've got to watch out when you're in the ring. If you give him an ounce of an opportunity, he will not hesitate to take advantage of it. So while I learned a lot, I thought I had the Cowboys' number. I didn't in the end, but here we are.
All right. Now, can you tell us about your tag team partner in the brand, Sydney Steele, and your relationship with him?
Sydney Steele and I go back a long ways, James. When I was first breaking in the Edmonton scene, Sydney Steele was around, and he was actually my first opponent in the Edmonton market.
Wow.
And that was probably 8 or 9 years ago. And our relationship has been up and down over the years, from being the best of friends to being absolutely hating each other. And now we've found this common place where we're very friendly again, and we're able to dominate the Western Canadian tag team ranks. I would say that we're probably the best tag team that Canada has to offer today, and I will put that up against anybody.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like, we beat the crap out of each other. Now it's time to come together and beat the crap out of other people. There's something here.
Something like that, yeah.
What's a pet peeve about Sydney that you just don't understand?
A pet peeve about Sydney Steele that I just don't understand. Oh man, there's a lot of things that guy does that annoy me. Have you ever met those people that just can't seem to chew with their mouth closed? I would say that that's probably Sydney Steele. You can't sit next to that guy while he's eating a meal and get a word in edgewise, because all you hear is this chomp, 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 chomp sound. And it's kind of disgusting.
Alright, so, eats with his mouth open.
Amongst other things, but yes, that's probably the worst offender.
Alright. Now, you were also in the ring with Rhino, ECW
Absolutely.
legend. What was that experience like, wrestling with
Rhino? Painful. That man runs right through you with that gore. Absolutely. It was an honor to be in a ring with somebody that has succeeded and accomplished as much as Rhino has. But at the end of the day, it was painful. I wasn't ready.
Now, you did have a couple of matches, because I believe it was on a CWE a tour.
Correct.
What do you feel like when you wrestle somebody like Rhino multiple times on a tour? Like, you're leveling up in a way? What is the experience going from the first match to the last match on the tour?
Well, it's like anything else. With practice comes perfection. So while I might try something in a match on the beginning of a tour, if it doesn't work, I'm going to change my game plan moving towards the end of the tour, and hopefully I will find a game plan that'll work, and that'll have me come out on top.
Okay. Well, your game plans have worked, because you were ranked in PWI as the third overall wrestler. I mean,
For Canada in that one ranking, yeah.
yeah, I believe that was in 2021, maybe 22.
2021, I believe, yeah.
2021, yeah. I mean, anytime your name is in PWI, that's a big deal. So what did that mean to you to be ranked number 3 in the Canadian market?
I believe the words that I used were finally the marks at PWI recognize actual talent. I believe that's what I said, and I kind of stand by that.
And you were ahead on that list. You were ahead of names like Josh Alexander and Speedball Mike Bailey.
Yeah, and?
Huh?
I'm glad you can read the list, yes.
Alright. One name that I found interesting that you competed against was Sin Bodhi. You competed in Las Vegas. I believe that was an impromptu match.
It wasn't impromptu. It was part of an exhibition at the Cauliflower Alley Club, and it was a tag match that we had scheduled. I tagged with another fellow out of Ohio, I believe, and with the Cheetah Bear Jude Dawkins, and I took on Sin Bodhi and his partners in the Stro, who was the maestro from WCW, and Funny Bone, who is an amazing talent out of the Pacific Northwest. And again, it was another great experience. It was a lot of hard work, and Cheetah Bear let us down.
I mean, competing at Cauliflower, the Alley Club, I mean, that's, a big deal in pro wrestling, and it's pretty well respected by everybody at this point. What did it mean to you to compete?
It was definitely, it was an honor, but it was just another match.
Okay. Now you did indeed wrestle Brutal Bob Evans, Uncle Bob, to most of the pro wrestling world. Can you tell us about that experience?
Well, that particular match with Bob Evans was not either of our best outings. There was a whole lot of moving parts. But from what I remember, working with Bob, it was an absolute dream. And I've gone on to think of Uncle Bob myself as a friend and a mentor. So it was probably one of the most eye-opening experiences in my career to that point.
Okay. Now, you're getting ready to get on to the Rumble to Remember tour on November 17th.
Absolutely.
Which is culminates to a 50-man battle royal, no?
It does, and I will be winning that 50-man battle royal. I'll have you know. It's a little spoiler for your listeners. This is coming. I think we're dropping this on the 15th. You said so, like 2 days early. Spoiler: headline Shaun Martens wins the 50-man battle royal and goes on to the anniversary show to face the champion. And this time, I promise, I will be taking home that CWE Heavyweight Championship. And that's just tomorrow's headline. Today.
And you won this tournament, this battle royal prior, right?
I have won the 50-man battle royal, and the funny story about that is that I actually entered that 50-man battle royal at position number 3, and went on for the hour and a half the match went on to the 50-man battle royal. In the last 2 minutes of the match, I actually pulled the hamstring from the bone in my left leg. It completely tore it, and was still able to get in the ring and win the match, tossing the zombie killer Mentallo over the top rope.
Now, how what was that experience like? Because obviously you were winning, but at the same time you just got injured.
I'm going to be honest and break a little bit of character here, but it was a really confusing time. I didn't know if this injury was going to require me to take time off, or if I had just blown an opportunity because I was being given an opportunity. And yeah, it was a scary and confusing time, and I probably should have taken time off, but I didn't take any time off, and healed it while continuing to work, which is probably the stupidest thing that anybody could do. But I love professional wrestling so much that they're just the idea of taking time away, especially after the pandemic, forced us to take those 2 years away. I wasn't slowing down for anybody.
Now, you mentioned Mentallo. You eliminated him. He's currently, I believe he's still the CWE champion.
He is.
You've had quite the history with Mentallo. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. I've said this once and I'll say it again. I get kind of sick to my stomach when I see these children and these people celebrate this man that hides behind a mask. And I've made it my own personal crusade to not only dethrone Mentallo as the CWE heavyweight champion, but to unmask him and show the people what a coward looks like, because the coward is what's hiding behind that mask.
And I mean, when you win the Rumble to remember another round in the history books, no?
Absolutely. But the history books, when all things are said and done, and I'm 6 feet underground, is going to read headline Shaun Martens on line 1, headline Shaun Martens on line 3, 6, 7, 8, all the way throughout the book. My name will be written. That is a guarantee for you, Jimmy James.
Jimmy. Well, you were the headline of the Winkler Voice newspaper. It's one thing to have, your name on, the internet, but when it's in, black and white on paper, a newspaper, I feel like that's a big deal. How did you feel about that?
Ripped off. I mean, let's face it, Jimmy. Print media is a dying art form. Nobody buys newspapers anymore. They knew that they had to jump onto the coattails of the headline if they wanted to push any of those papers out the doors. Single-house moms were single-handedly doling out dollar bills after dollar bills to take home photos of the headline because they knew that they couldn't afford the money at the shows. So they figured for a discount, they would just buy that newspaper. And these people in the newspaper, they knew this. They knew that if they put me on their main page and they said my name and they put my picture, they would sell copies. And how much do you think I received in compensation for that?
How much?
Not a dime. And that makes me mad.
I mean, as it should.
Anyways, let's go on. I don't want to get too worked up. I don't get too hot here, kid.
Okay. Can you tell us about the obstacles you faced on the Hostile Takeover tour? Because there were quite a few, no?
Hostile Takeover. That was Eric Rowan, wasn't it?
Yes, but I mean, apparently there was a car accident, a rock slide, snowed in.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, yeah, Hostile Takeover tour. Yeah, that morning started off real bad. Myself and a few of the other guys, Mastermind Kevin Cannon, obviously Easy Rider, and another gentleman, we were all in the car and in the ring truck actually driving out to the first show. And we caught some black ice and lost control of the truck and trailer, and we rolled multiple times, flipping into the ditch, and completely rode off the truck, and the trailer was impounded. We've luckily gotten it back since, but myself and a couple of the other gentlemen pulled ourselves from the wreckage, and we got ourselves into a truck that was provided to us by a wonderful sponsor, Top Dog Couriers, and drove that 5-ton truck picked up a rented ring and continued on the tour. And we had to put all the shows back a day, but we were able to make the shows happen. It's probably one of the scariest moments of my career, but it's also probably one of the proudest moments in that, like, a major car accident where we probably shouldn't have survived wasn't enough to keep us from making the town. And there's not a lot of guys left that can say that.
I mean, honestly, that's incredible. Like, it sounds, really severe, and it doesn't seem like you came out, badly injured.
Well, look, man, let's be completely honest about this for a second. One does not get in a car accident and walk away uninjured.
Fair enough.
Okay, so, like, we were all feeling it. We were all feeling rattled, like, whether it's physically feeling the effects of whiplash and the aches and the pains. But then there's also the mental trauma, right? Like, that was a pretty traumatic event, and I know I myself was pretty shaken up for a few days. I know a couple of the other guys were as well. It takes a bit before you realize that, like, hey, like, we probably shouldn't be alive right now, let alone wrestling.
Right.
But like I said earlier with the hamstring earlier, like, you're going to have to kill me if you're going to keep me from making my dates.
Oh, what? Like you just said, you're going to have to kill you to keep you from making the dates. That's not
Absolutely.
necessarily, a mentality a lot of people, not just in wrestling, but in general, have nowadays. So where does that work ethic come from?
Oh, man, I don't even know where that work ethic comes from. I think it's just me and who I am and in my soul. Like, if I make a commitment to do something, I'm going to do it. That's it, plain. And when I was brought up in this business, I was told that, the old showbiz slogan, the show must go on, and I live my life by that. If I say that I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. Whether I'm going to take a huge loss in my life, financially or otherwise or not, I am going to make that show that I made my commitment to. I've been wrestling for upwards of 10 years now, and I've missed one show that I was advertised on. And that's because as I was warming my vehicle up that morning, my car was stolen on my way to the show. And that's the only reason I missed that one. And it was multiple provinces away, so it just didn't physically work out that I was able to make it. Believe me, I tried. I tried finding other ways to get there, but it just didn't work out that particular time.
All right. Now, a lot of our guests on the show, they will credit Owen Hart for, inspiration, why they got into pro wrestling, how they wrestle now because of Owen Hart. You actually met Owen Hart.
I have, yep.
What was that experience like?
Oh, it was pretty surreal. It was a really quick and passing thing. So I met Owen Hart at a Calgary wrestling tournament, like an amateur wrestling tournament, when I was, I think, in grade 9 or something like that, and just starting high school, just starting wrestling. And being a professional wrestler was something that I've wanted my entire life. So when you meet somebody that's doing it, what else are you going to do but ask them how you can do it?
Right.
And Owen's suggestion to me was to keep wrestling and to learn judo.
Interesting.
And that's what I did. And I went on and became a brown belt in Kodokan Judo and became a professional wrestler. And all roads lead to here. So to say that Owen was an inspiration would be just a slight fabrication of a lie. In that, like, it's not necessarily a lie. Let's say it's an understatement.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously a major influence because he told you do judo and now you're a brown belt.
Yeah.
But how did doing judo help you in your wrestling career? And when
okay, well that's a really good question. So A lot of guys don't realize this, but a lot of the basic professional wrestling moves all derive from judo throws. So learning judo, you learn all your break falls, all of the bumps, as guys call them. You learn them all in the same techniques. You learn honor and discipline. You learn a lot of the same throws and maneuvers. You learn a lot of ground holds. So a lot of the skills are very directly transferable to what we do as professional wrestlers.
So, like,
And,
continue.
no, you go ahead.
No, but I cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, no, I don't have a thought to continue. You just go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean, when you started wrestling training, essentially you had an edge going in because you kind of had a grasp of the basics, no?
In a very layman's way of putting it, yes. As far as the physicality of it, like the basics of falling down and not getting hurt and stuff like that, yeah, I had a bit of an edge going into those things. But there's so much more to what happens between those ropes that nothing can prepare you for.
Oh, yeah. Now, you mentioned your brown belt. Are you going for a black belt?
I would love to one day. Unfortunately, that's a very detailed process. So maybe one day, hopefully one day, not anytime soon.
Okay, fair enough. Alright, I think it's time for that segment again. Shaun's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh boy, how explicit can we get?
As explicit as you want.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, so I was a quick road story. You know, I'm having trouble thinking of one that won't get me or somebody else in trouble.
You could keep the names. You could change the names to protect the innocent if you'd like.
Well, let's come back to this. Let's come back to. Let me think of this one.
Okay. Now, you wrestled Eugene, Nick Densmore.
I have, yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was wonderful. He's an absolute gentleman and professional through and through. It was a great learning experience, and it was a complete honor to work with him and to meet him.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually make your own ring gear, no?
Oh boy, I haven't done that for quite some time now. I can. Unfortunately, when my schedule started to pick up and get as busy as it is, it's one of those things that just kind of fell by the wayside. I just don't have time to make my own stuff anymore. So I actually have a very wonderful lady based out of the Winnipeg, Manitoba area that makes all of my robes and ring gear for me. And she does an absolutely wonderful and marvelous job.
Okay.
But yes, I used to make all my own stuff. It was a lot cheaper. Let me tell you that. It was a lot cheaper when I made my own stuff. But my time is worth something as well. And I've been very happy with the relationship that I have with my seamstress.
Was, obviously some sewing is required. Was that a skill you already had, or was that a skill that you acquired for pro wrestling?
It's a bit of both, really. Like when I was in middle school, I did take like a home economics program, and so I learned the basics on how to use a sewing machine. But of course, from that point until the first pair of wrestling gear that I made, probably 15 years passed without using a sewing machine. So it was like relearning all over again. But yeah, it was definitely a skill that I taught myself for pro wrestling.
No.
City Steel makes all his own stuff still, We both learned at the same time how to do this type of stuff. And he's gotten quite a bit better at it than I am, but he's also kept at it. And I just kind of like put my hands up and just started commissioning somebody to do it.
Now, ring gear, says a lot about a pro wrestler. So when you're making your own gear, what kind of makes you go with the style that you go with? I'm referring to the going with trunks rather than the long pants.
Well, professional wrestlers, when I was growing up, all of my favorites, I grew up idolizing the early 90s and the 80s guys. So that's what I always envisioned myself looking like. That's what I always envisioned myself being. So that's the style of both ring gear and in-ring work that I try to emulate as much as possible. Obviously, pro wrestling evolves, not to give a plug to any indie promotion or anything, but so the styles evolve, and you have to keep up with the times or else you'll just get passed by. But I try to keep as much of that 1980s style as I possibly can. So simple trunks with simple lettering. I feel like nobody's doing it anymore, so it's actually kind of unique.
Right. And yeah, I don't think classic trunks are ever going to go out of style, honestly.
Well, if you look at a lot of the guys that I see in these locker rooms, they don't put any effort into their ring gear other than going to Value Village during the Halloween clearance sale. So definitely stand out.
Yeah, yes, 100%. All right. Could we go back to the Bizarre Adventure?
Oh, yeah, we could try. Okay, some of the facts of the story have been changed to protect the innocent.
Okay.
There was one night, me and a couple of the boys, we had a bad night, so we went out to a pub and had ourselves a few drinks, and we were able to meet this young lady who decided that she was going to latch onto our group, and she took us, when that bar closed down, she took us to this other bar where we met this drug dealer guy, and he turned out to be a huge fan of all of us and took pictures and everything, and they kept buying us drinks all night, and then that party stopped, and this drug dealer guy welcomed us to his home, and we all kind of thought about it, but said, okay, this might be all right. So we went back to this guy's house, and we walk in, and it was like this tiny little house, and it was kind of like dilapidated, and just not cool. And as you walk in the door, there was like these 9 giant dogs, and they all came running. They're all very friendly and everything, but when you're completely wasted, 9 big boxers, I believe they were, coming running at you is quite the scene. And then this little man comes out of the kitchen with this sandwich baggie full of cookies and asks who wants a cookie. And me and another gentleman both grabbed a cookie and ate it as quickly as we could, not realizing what we had done. As we finished this cookie, just scarfing the thing down, we slowly looked up at each other and went, uh-oh, what did we do? And we turned to look at this guy like, what was in this cookie? And he goes, why? And we're like, well, we just finished. He's like, we weren't supposed to eat the whole thing. And we're like, oh, no. So we ended up going back to the place where we were staying, and our world was ending. Let's just put it that way. And we almost didn't make it in time to meet the ring truck in order to make the next town, which was a 9-hour drive. And yeah, just crazy times. A lot of guys these days will not go out and have the drinks, and they'll go home and they'll play video games and just hang out at the hotel. And maybe on this particular night, that's what we should have done, but we didn't. So now we've got this awesome story to tell. And there's a lot more to the story, but we're just gonna leave it at that for this podcast.
You can't leave us that way. You can't tease that there's more.
If you want to hear the full story, come to a show, ask me in person.
Alright, so you're saying I have to take a flight to Canada.
You might, yep.
Totally, I need to take a trip up there because there's a few people I need to get stories out of.
There you go. There's lots of stories.
Well, hopefully you could tell us about. Maybe you have a story about this guy. You worked with Lenny Pavo on a few occasions.
I mean, yeah.
Can you tell us about meeting Lenny and your experiences with him?
Yeah, man. Lanny Poffo was awesome. He was such a happy and energetic man, and just full of sunshine. Like, I was just listening to a friend of mine who did a podcast with you, T.Y. Jackson, and he mentioned how he's like a half glass full kind of guy, but like Lumberjack Larry, as part of the Rads, is next level. And I can't agree with T.Y. more that Larry is just next level happy all the time. He's just like, if you're in a bad mood, Larry can pull you out of it. Lanny's that much more over top of Larry. Just the man walks into a room with a smile and just everything just starts to glow, and he spoke with that cadence, that poetic cadence and the rhyme, and like you could tell that this was a very intelligent individual. Genius almost, you might say.
Yes. That's awesome to hear.
So yeah, nothing but good things to say about Lanny Poffo. We even got him to do a moonsault at his advanced age in his 60s in a battle royal. So,
I mean, it was crazy to actually see him do a moonsault at that age. Like, wow, Lenny still got it.
yeah, absolutely still had it, man.
Somebody else that still has it, Juventud Guerrera, Mexican legend.
Juicy, yeah.
What was it like being in the ring with him?
Oh man, Hoovie's awesome, absolutely incredible, man. I think Hoovie just actually made a return to TNA, so congratulations, Juice. It was a really surreal point in my career when I got to wrestle with Juventud Guerrera on the 30-day tour there, because up to that point I'd never really been in the ring with a luchador before. Up here in Canada, in Western Canada, at the time we never really got a lot of luchadors. It was very Stampede style based, where it was still very rough and gruff and snug and like technical wrestling based. So to be in there with somebody with the capabilities to the Lucha Libre style the way that Juventud was a complete honor and learning experience, 100%. And I've heard a lot of bad things about Hoovie, but I haven't seen them, because when I was around Juventud Guerrera for an entire month, he was nothing but a class act and a gentleman.
Okay.
Again, nothing but great things to say about Hoovie.
Okay. Well, in your time at Can-Am Wrestling, you were voted the most hated.
I was, yep.
Some people might take that as, an insult, but I feel like you might feel that that's an honor.
I don't care what these people think. If they want to vote me most hated so that I get a stupid, cheap little wood plaque that I just threw in the garbage when I got home, but I gladly accepted that $1,500 bonus that came along with winning that award, and I put that in my pocket. So if these people want to continue to vote me most hated, most despisable, worst wrestler in the world, as long as there's that prize money that comes along with it, they can vote me whatever they want.
Hell yeah. Alright. Well, it's time for the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh boy, first 3 songs on my movie soundtrack. Well, I would really hope, I don't even know who sings the song, but you're probably familiar with it. Back in the 90s, when Shawn Michaels left, they played a song called Tell Me a Lie. And I would really like that song to be included, because it brings a tear to my eye. I would also probably include Katy Perry, Dark Horse.
Okay.
And probably the Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way.
Alright. That's a solid, very eclectic tree of picks there.
You asked the question, my man.
I did. Alright, now that we got the soundtrack down, then we write the script, then we go to casting. Who plays
Oh.
Shaun? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh, I'm probably dead at this point anyway. Who plays me? So what? I had to pick an actor that played me?
I mean, it can be an actor or somebody else. It doesn't matter.
Huh. I would probably be best played by, oh man, I don't even know. Let's go with Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, that's probably a good choice.
Alright.
Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? Let's strike that from the record. I get told all the time that I look like Chris Pratt.
Okay.
But I tell people that Chris Pratt looks like me. So let's go with Chris Pratt.
Alright. Chris Pratt. Now, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you and your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
3 people significant to me. Well, there's always MENTALLO, so he'd probably be played by Kevin Hart.
Okay.
And then you would probably you would have to have like probably a Danny Duggan character for the promoter. So who would be a good Danny Duggan? Probably like John Goodman would be a great Danny Duggan.
Okay.
And then well, I do wrestle for RCW, so that's Stephen Owaschuk or Stephen Styles or Squiggy Magoo, whatever you want to call him. He'd probably be best played by Danny DeVito, so you go with Danny DeVito for that one.
Okay. I mean, this is sounding like an awesome movie. We got Chris Pratt, Kevin Hart, John Goodman, Danny DeVito.
It sounded like a comedy to me, but
A little bit, but I think it's okay. You definitely have me buying a ticket.
all right.
And you can pre-order the tickets now. Alright. Can you tell us about your love of Batman?
Oh, my love of Batman. I don't know what there is to say really about that. At the same time that my affinity for professional wrestling started, so did my affinity for comic book characters, and especially the character of Batman. And it's just something that's been with me forever. Like, I find myself, if I'm in a dark place, whether I'm going through some mental anguish, like some depression or something, I always find myself watching episodes of Batman the Animated Series, and that always seems to be something that brings me back to my roots and in touch, kind of like my center. And I'm able to pull out of anything just by associating with stuff that I'm familiar with, that I have fond memories of. So that's kind of like my ties to that. And yeah, I just love everything that the Batman does. So,
What's your go-to episode for the animated series?
oh man, there's so many good episodes of Batman the Animated Series. I really like The Laughing Fish.
Okay.
Mad Love was great as well, which was, I think, Batman and Robin Adventures, but
It's still the same.
Heart of Ice is very touching. There's so many. On Leather Wings.
And best Batman movie.
Oh, the best Batman movie. This will be an unpopular choice, but I've always been partial to Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which was an animated motion picture that came out in '92.
And that is the correct answer. Well, that, whenever given the option of, animated or live action, Phantasm is always number 1.
Right.
Now,
I couldn't agree more.
you reading the comics as well?
Yeah, I do read a lot of comics as well.
What's your favorite trade paperback?
Trade paperback, so like graphic novel.
What's all
At
of
the
them?
moment, I'm still very high on the Batman '89 graphic novel. But there's so many good ones. I really enjoyed Hush. I really enjoyed Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin was great. So yeah, it branches out.
I mean, Ninja Turtles and Batman, it's not necessarily a combo that people would expect would work, but actually did.
Absolutely did. That and the Batman Ninja Turtle comics were way better than that movie was. So.
Fortunately, not a lot of people saw the animated movie. Alright.
Oh.
Now, can you tell us about the significance of your tattoo?
There's not a lot of significance behind the tattoo, man. I from a young age, I always wanted tattoos, and I always was told originally that you need to make sure that it means something to you and it's important to you. But I'm of the opinion now that the best tattoos are the ones that have zero meaning whatsoever, because like what might have meaning for you at one point in your life, 10 years from now might not have any meaning at all, and now this thing, it's just kind of like a constant reminder of something that was different in your life at that time. Whereas if you just get something that you like because you think it's cool, you're always going to think that's cool. So it's just tattoos that are things that I like. Like I like sharks. I had the big one up on my shoulder. I had a buddy design that and did it up for me. So I thought it was cool. I liked it.
Okay, so it wasn't, there was not necessarily a significance, it was just something, you just got.
Just something I like, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to break the bubble, but.
No, but, I mean, it's such a unique design, I kind of felt like there must have been something more to it.
No.
Right? Now, another thing, in your story, weightlifting. I feel like there's a difference between lifting weights and just working out. There's something people get more personally from weightlifting. Is there anything that you get personally from weightlifting? Oh, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Weightlifting.
You're asking if there's something that I get out of bodybuilding?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, body dysmorphia. I think any of us that lift weights to improve our physiques will agree with this. Body dysmorphia, that's the number one thing that you get. You're never big enough. You're never good enough. But on a more serious note, yeah, I get a lot of joy and focus in my day. It's something that I use to balance myself. It's just another thing that I love to do. I love to lift heavy and push my limits. So, and it just so happens that it should be part of the requirements of the job of being a professional wrestler, that you should be in the best physical shape that you could possibly be in. And unfortunately, that not a lot of guys see it that way, but I absolutely do, and I try my best to be in the best physical condition that I can.
Does when weightlifting, does listening to Be a Man help?
Man, I'm assuming that I probably made an Instagram post about that at one point. Yeah,
Yes.
Music itself is the gateway to the soul, and a lot of the times, if I'm in the gym and I'm lifting, I'll have like old WWF, WCW songs going, and it's like not so much that I enjoyed the music itself, but it's the way that music made me feel as a kid and the emotions that are connected to those songs. And so for example, I hear Owen Hart's theme song going, and all of a sudden it's like, as far as music goes, this is a pretty shitty song. But it brings out that emotion of excitement and passion and energy in me, and it makes me push to that next level. So I try to utilize that a lot in my workouts and in my music choices. A lot of guys will use heavy metal for that because heavy metal picks up your heart rate and gets you going a lot harder. But yeah, no, I pick and choose songs that make me feel something, and that's what's important. So like Be a Man Hulk, I always enjoyed that Macho Man album. I thought it was hilarious. It was much better than Hogan's album. Yeah, maybe I'm on my way to the gym after this interview. Maybe I'll put on Be a Man.
Oh yeah. Alright. You are indeed a Canadian from Canada. So I do have 2 Canadian exclusive questions for you.
Sure, man.
The first one being poutine. Where is the best place in Canada to get it?
Well, it originated in Quebec. It's French cuisine, so I would assume there. I don't eat cheese and fries and gravy, so. But yeah, I would assume probably somewhere in Quebec, likely Quebec City, Montreal, maybe.
So you don't eat poutine?
No.
Alright. Well, can you tell us, is Canada's greatest national treasure Ryan Reynolds?
Ryan Reynolds. Oh, Deadpool. Oh boy. At the moment, maybe. Yeah. For current day stuff, I mean, between all of his stuff with Raccoon and Marvel and his ties to Taylor Swift, yeah, maybe.
Okay. On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Pineapple on pizza, yeah, absolutely, man. Pineapple on everything.
So
you got to, especially if you got a spicy pizza. So that's the thing is, like, you want to pair your pineapple with something spicy because it's going to give a little bit of sweet to lighten the load a little bit, that sting, so that you can actually get the full flavor out of the spicy food.
Okay. So not just throw pineapple on pizza, throw pineapple in general.
Absolutely.
Oh. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Spirit Pokemon. Oh man, I reference Pokemon a lot in my day-to-day life, but I'm gonna be honest, I never played Pokemon, I never watched Pokemon, I just kind of know it from the kids and being on in the background. So I'm gonna go with the Snorlax.
Alright.
It's probably a good spirit Pokemon.
Alright. No.
Or maybe that little Charmander that wears the skull on his head.
That's Cubone.
Cubone, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for THUG? THUG.
I'm ashamed to say that I can't think of that at the moment, no.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for Jill, because a Doug can't spell. Yes.
Tracy was one of a kind, man.
Yeah, we love the late great Tracy Smothers. We're trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
Well, God bless you.
Appreciate that. Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
Depends what the pay is. I feel like a Rock would be pretty easy to defeat, so if I could get a pretty good winner's purse on that, I wouldn't have a problem laying on top of a Rock. That'd be fine.
Okay, but what if the promoter says The Rock is going over?
Well, that ain't happening. No.
So no.
No.
Well, just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled in actual Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Why?
Well, it was a rematch. There was a whole story about it. But unfortunately, he did not beat The Rock.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, man, I don't know how to answer that question. I try to live in the moment, in the now. And right now I'm focused on Ultimo Dragon and the CWE Rumble to Remember tour. Once we get past that tour, I will start worrying about the next thing. As far as 5 years from now, that's 5 years from now. It's too hard to say.
Fair enough. What is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
Anything I do with MENTALLO.
Okay.
I think Cloud9 Wrestling out of North Dakota just posted one on their YouTube page, actually. So.
Okay. I will go on their YouTube page and find a match, and I will put it in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox, for anybody that wants to see it, hasn't seen it, wants to re-see it after listening to it.
Sounds great.
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
So you're gonna ask me a question, just first thing to come to my mind, and you want me to answer that way?
Yeah. I mean, you can.
I just gotta know the format of this thing.
Oh.
Kind of springing this on me here, but that's okay. All right, let's go. Eight rounds of speed. Let's do it.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Tully Blanchard.
Worst wrestler.
Ooh. Dwayne Gill.
Your main eventing.
Go ahead.
Your main eventing
Speed round.
WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
MENTALLO.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Razor Ramon.
Finish the sentence. K-Babe is...
Important.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
A squash is a fruit, I believe.
And that's the correct answer. It has seeds, tomato logic.
Yeah.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Oh, there's no appropriate ratio. The more butt cheek you show, the more merch you seem to sell. So you read into that how you're going to read into that.
So, less coverage equals more pay.
Yeah, the girl's got to figure it out, man.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No. Nobody talks about Darby Allin.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
No, absolutely, James. It was your pleasure.
It absolutely was. And once again, where can we find all things Shaun on social media and your merchandise?
Yeah, man. So again, headline Shaun Martens. So Instagram is username at headline Shaun Martens. Twitter X, whatever we call that thing, is at Shaun Martens. I believe I have threads at headline Shaun Martens. I forgot about that earlier. And Facebook, we have / headline Shaun Martens, which is the fan page as well. Or you can just find me on Facebook under Shaun Martens. As far as merchandise, I do have lots more stuff available at the shows, but if you want a t-shirt, prowrestlingtees.com / headline Shaun Martens.
And there's no need to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media and merchandise will be in the description of the video below or on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
Or at least follow me, Marks.
Exactly. Give him a damn follow as well.
Here we go.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. We're on YouTube and Castbox. This is sponsored by Road Energy and Pale Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on Twitter, Instagram, and Dread. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, Shaun, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
Okay.
For always special guest Shaun Martens, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.